Hello, welcome wherever you are around the world to the 3ZZZ World Cup show. My name is Gabriel D'Angelo. It is wonderful to have your company. And speaking of wonderful company, sitting next to me from the Irish Broadcasting Group, the Singing Shamrock, DeArne Leonard. How are you, DeArne?
I'm great, Gabe, and you?
Good, thank you. And sitting next to DeArne from the German Broadcasting Group, the Social Butterfly, Der Schmetterling, Bernd Merkel. How are you, Bernd?
I'm very well, thanks, Gabriel.
That's good to see. And it's good to see Australia make it to the round of 16. I don't think any of us were expecting that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. But first, this is the second time I'm going to have to ask you this, Bernd. But Bernd, Germany, what happened?
Yeah, the big question. I think that 80 million people in Germany are asking. So, yeah, I mean, under these circumstances, looking at a sport event, but from that perspective, it's a disaster, really. I think nobody saw that coming. Yes, you could say it was unexpected that Spain lost against Japan, but in general, our performance throughout the whole World Cup was not on a level that I would say we deserve to go to the round of last 16. We won against Costa Rica, we did our homework, but again, there were really big mistakes in defense. And I think there's a lot that needs to be asked, a lot of questions, not only to the players, but also to the coach, to the management. So, it's going to be an interesting future.
Because, like DeArne and I, we did say on several occasions, because on paper you see the team, the amazing squad, the amazing talent they have, playing in very good leagues, not just in Germany, but also in the English Premier League with Gundogan and so forth. You see this and you're like, come on, I mean, Germany, they can't go out on the first round again. Yeah. We thought maybe all the way, or at the very least, quarter-final.
But let's be honest, I think that group definitely was a bit more challenging than the one at the last group stage. Still, he should make it, no doubt about that. And not being a smart ass here, but I said it in the first show already. So our defense is not on a world-class level. We have good players, as you said. Rüdiger plays Real Madrid. We have players from Dortmund that play Champions League. But in the end, there is this saying, defense wins championships. Mm-hmm. And our defense lost the first game. And in the end, that was something we were chasing and didn't come back. Yeah. So from that end, but now my question to you is, what happened to Uruguay, Gabriel?
What's that? We have to cut to commercial. Okay. So we'll be well, look, Uruguay, extremely disappointing. That's just to put it mildly. The way that Uruguay came into this World Cup, with the way they were playing in the tail end of the World Cup qualifiers, there was all this optimism and this hope. It's like, wow, some new players have come in, some good young players have come in, players that should have been in the national team a long time ago. There was this breath of fresh air that just swept in with Diego Alonso as coach, and there was a lot of optimism. I don't think anyone was expecting Uruguay to win the World Cup, but at the very least, round of 16, because we're well aware Brazil was going to be in the mix for the round of 16 games, and anything could happen. But just this ultra defensive mindset against Portugal just destroyed everything. And we said this privately when we were talking about Germany, with the coach, the way that Flick coached Germany, this sort of sense of, okay, we play one style at the World Cup qualifiers, but in the World Cup we'll play completely differently. And sometimes the players aren't used to it and they're not acclimatized to it. It's like, well, why aren't you playing as offensively and as creatively as you were earlier? It's just terrible coaching. The coach has got everything wrong.
So when you talk about the defensive play of a lot of the teams at this World Cup, there seems to be a trend of everyone trying to play smart football at the back and they're getting caught out. And to the point of, say, the Germany-Costa Rica game, I saw a German attack the whole way through the game. They were pushing and pushing and pushing to get those extra goals to make it out of the group stages. They were clean. They didn't mess around in the back line. I know that you've made the statement their defensive line needs to be improved, but I saw a clean, efficient and fair playing team out in that game. And also I was so impressed with Jamal Musiala. 19. Playing at Bayern Munich in the first 2 games of the 22-23 season, he kicked 4 goals and 3 assists. The kid's a superstar. And I think that defensively, when you're that strong in attack, you can allow a little bit of lax in the back, because so many teams, Australia, everyone, they're like, oh, let's just kick it around the back, and then the opposition comes in, carves through, and off it goes.
Well, that was the main criticism we had with Australia against France.
Yeah.
Too much playing at the back and they
Hello.
just attack.
That's right.
Yeah.
Too much. And like, it seems to be a game strategy, and we're sitting here, and I know coaches have accountability for directing and managing their teams, but let me tell you, and we've all played this wonderful world game, the minute you step across that line and you get white line fever and you're on the pitch, you're actually in control of yourself, and sometimes it doesn't matter how good the coaching was in the background, you're responsible for your performance.
Yeah.
So it is a blend of both, and I just want to see teams attacking and not playing this, let's waste time and play off the back line. Some of the games are frustrating me in this World Cup, and some of them are super exciting.
Yeah. Would you agree with there was a little bit of upset after this Ghana game now? You know, that they were, so the Uruguay
Yes, with
players,
some of the
they were
players.
complaining, but then the coach, I think, was actually also complaining, but not about the ref in that game, but about the penalty in the Portugal game. So would you agree on that?
Actually, I don't agree with the way that they handled themselves, the Uruguayan players. Look, the penalty against Portugal, it wasn't a penalty, but it was already done. It's done, it's finished. The fact of the matter is, they shouldn't have played the way that they played. They shouldn't have played such an ultra-defensive style. That's the coach's fault. Then, in the game against Ghana, where they had to win and had to throw everything against them, that should never have been a scenario that should have been in play. Like, Uruguay should never have been like, okay, we have to win and we have to rely on South Korea and Portugal and all that sort of stuff. That should never have happened. And the way that they complained and pushed and shoved the referee, I know it was very similar to a few 3ZZZ AGMs, but, you know, there was, like, I can get frustration and tension and all that, but it should never have been, that it should never have got to that situation. So, yeah, this was all on the coach. This was all bad planning, bad substitutions, having some of your better players on the bench rather than playing. It's a recipe for disaster, and that's what happened with Uruguay. There is no excuse.
So where do you see it now developing? The coach gonna be sacked?
Oh, he's gone for sure. He'll be coaching Melbourne Victory next season. Don't worry about that. But he has all the responsibility. It all ends on him. So because there was a plan that he was going to be the coach of the World Cup, and then the Copa America, World Cup qualifiers, and then possibly, if they qualify, the next World Cup. That's gone. Forget it. It's over. But to go on to the other side, when it came to Germany with Flick, with his coaching,
but I said
similar.
Definitely mistakes made, and he needs to be questioned. Unfortunately, maybe his biggest mistake might have cost us this World Cup. Getting Gündoğan out of that game against Japan, where we lost our structure, and then, of course, that still isn't an excuse that the defense made these massive mistakes, and Spain and Japan could score twice. But in the end, it will be now the task to really build quickly, because the European Cup in Germany is coming up in 2024, so we won't have any real competitive games until then. There is a pro and con of that. You know, you can build your team, you don't have that pressure, but on the other hand, competition is always also a good thing to have. So fingers crossed that they get the turnaround, and we will see in 2 years then.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many times have we seen a team have a really poor World Cup and turn things around 4 years later?
But having the second one in a row now, so it's now really the last 4 years that Germany lost this status of being a tournament team.
Yeah.
You know, so the hope is there, but before Christmas, I think a few decisions need to be made.
I'm still on the Germany bandwagon.
They're out. They lost.
World Cup, but I'm still on the bandwagon. I think they're superstars, and just watch them in the future again. They haven't really stepped that far back from their tournament status, as you say. They'll be back.
Yeah,
better.
Germany being Germany,
Absolutely.
they'll be just fine.
Exactly.
You'll be just fine, I'm sure.
But I have a very last question, Gabriel, for you in the South American football with the World Cup in 2030. So Uruguay planning to apply together, I think, with Argentina and Paraguay and
pretty much everyone, really.
Everyone's
just.
Do you think they have a chance, and is it something desirable for Uruguay, or?
Well, the whole sort of thing is that it's celebrating the 100 years of the World Cup, because the first one was in Uruguay in 1930. That sort of celebration, that coming full circle and all that sort of stuff. But we all know that commercial interests take a hold, and as we saw with the Olympic Games, when Athens was supposed to have the Olympics in '96 and it went to Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, that was a great move. But I have my doubts. It would be great to see a World Cup in South America again, because it's been such a long time. In Brazil, sorry, in 2014. It's COVID, it's affected me. But it would be good to see in countries like Argentina and Uruguay and Paraguay.
But for 100 years, the first one was held in Uruguay.
Yes.
What are the challenges to standing Uruguay up to hold it and host it on its own?
Well, if they have this expanded universe of teams coming in, where there's like so many, there are some facilities in Uruguay that just can't do it, that just don't have the facilities. There are grounds here in suburban Melbourne that are better than some of the first division clubs in Uruguay. That's a sad reality. So, Uruguay had no choice but to sort of, say, hey, does anybody else want to join in? But I don't know if that's going to happen, and we'll see. But that's for a future topic in the future. But speaking of future, we have to have a quick break. But first, here's some words of wisdom from our friend, Brian Yap.
Oh, hey there. I didn't notice you, sorry. Well, you gotta forgive me, but this coffee from Albert Street Cafe, this is so good that I lost track of where I was. Albert Street Cafe is a family-owned business that has the best coffee here in Melbourne. They have the friendliest staff and the best coffee at the best price. Come and see for yourself. Where was I? Oh yeah, did I tell you that Albert Street Cafe has the best sandwiches too? Albert Street Cafe, 306 Albert Street, Brunswick.
Football and the city of Melbourne go hand in hand when it comes to its sporting prowess and its pride in multiculturalism. The Community Soccer Hub is one of many grassroots organisations that makes football affordable and creates ties with its refugee and migrant communities in the western suburbs. To talk about Community Soccer Hub, we have Simon Reynolds with us. Simon, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So Simon, what exactly is the Community Soccer Hub?
You pretty much nailed it in the intro.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming. And that's all right.
Basically, that's it. There's a need everywhere, but especially in the western suburbs, for some of the barriers to participation to be reduced, especially access to grounds, which is a massive issue, and cost and affordability. And I've lost track of time, 2014. Whatever many years ago that was, a lot of different groups came together, a lot of community groups, a lot of organisations came together with the Brimbank City Council, because at the time they were kind of lobbying individually, and the idea came together to collectivise, basically, to lobby for access to grounds, and that's when the Community Soccer Hub was formed.
Okay.
So you were talking about the costs. What costs are we talking about? Is it for free if people wanna join?
It's all different, and it depends on how good we are at fundraising the year before.
Yeah.
But basically, the idea is to keep it free, or as cheap as possible, because the various communities out in those areas, just a lot of them can't afford to join more mainstream football clubs. So our job is to give them that access, and then maybe help them push on to go somewhere else afterwards. So
So that's an almighty fundraising, because I think by last reckoning you've got, is it 2 senior teams? You've got under 12s, under 14s, and there's a league that Gabe wants to be in. It's the over 45s, but he's waiting for the over 60s for his goalkeeping skills.
But they're too quick for me. I just can't do it.
And I mean, you're playing in places like Sunbury. I think you were also in Melton, Epping, Heidelberg, Carlton, And of course, your home grounds, my stomping grounds where I grew up, good old Albion down in Selwyn Street
Selwyn
at the park. Yeah.
The best ground in Australia.
Wow. And literally stomping ground for that.
So
yeah.
I know that you've had a push at the start of this current season this year to try and get some female players in. Has that changed for you over this season? Have you seen some more women coming forward wanting to join?
It's always a push, but basically those teams that you just mentioned, they happen organically after people come and participate more casually.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't force people to join the team. We call it Albion Thunder, the team that we enter into the leagues. But we just want people to turn up and train and play together. And then if some of those people want to take it a little step further and take the competitiveness another level, then we sort out the Albion Thunder team for them based on that. So we do have lots of casual women's groups at the moment, but it's not really up to us to be like, hey, it's time you guys join the league. It's when they're ready, basically. And yeah, that's how it's been for all the teams, and that's how it'll be for the women's team too. But obviously we would love,
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I think it might have been last month, Kieran Perkins, who ex-champion swimmer, who's now the CEO of Sport Australia, he actually said that there are more and more people who are participating in, especially in football, in non-traditional organisational structures of football. So there are more and more people who aren't involved in clubs and sporting organisations with Football Victoria or with the National Premier League of Victoria. More and more people are going to the Community Soccer Hub, Melbourne Chinese Soccer Association, Melbourne Social Soccer. I think we know why that is, but do you think, for want of a better term, do you think this trend will continue, especially with cost of living and all that sort of stuff happening?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn about it, to be honest, because I love that there's all these different communities kind of just taking matters into their own hands and like making football accessible. There's all sorts of different groups all over Australia, and the Melbourne Chinese Soccer Association's the perfect example of that, because they've got the Afghan team and the Korean team, and it's amazing. But part of me would also like to see that all kind of acknowledged in the wider participation numbers, so that then they can take those numbers, lobby government, lobby council to say, look, because there's actually thousands and thousands more people that are outside of those kind of official statistics. So while I'm really glad that people are playing, I reckon we could make a better case if there was a bit more help and a bit more support to kind of bring everybody together. I mean, that's the argument with football in Australia that's always been, bringing everybody together is always going to be difficult. But I love that people are playing, and I love that people are doing what they can to play, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There needs to be a way to bring it all together.
Yeah, he did make that point that, like, especially when it comes to football, there's the ones that the participants that they know of, but then there's all these others in organisations such as yourself. It's like they don't know how many people there are.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that happens. We've had discussions with Football Victoria in the past about how to do that, but anyway, ongoing. TBC.
And of course, looking for players on the pitch, but what about, the team behind? So are you looking for coaches? Do they need certain qualifications? And so, if people want to support you from that end, what are you looking for, or how could you be supported?
Always more coaches. Yeah. It's like the volunteers that are there are super passionate and do a lot, but then a lot falls to them to kind of do a lot of work for free mostly. Yeah. And also we have in the past, I mean, COVID kind of put a weird halt to a lot of the things that we were doing, but one of the things we were doing, aside from giving people playing opportunities, was giving people opportunities to learn refereeing or coaching badges as well. So basically keeping people who are into sport, who want to be involved in many different ways, giving them many different opportunities to participate in all sorts of different ways. So but always more coaches, always more volunteers are needed, because the year coming out of COVID, we actually had to knock back players, which I think is a common theme at the moment. We just didn't have the volunteers to facilitate it, unfortunately. But new year coming up this year. Looking forward to it.
And how can people get into contact with you? Is that via Facebook? I think you're very active on that.
Yeah, luckily somebody is. I don't know who it is, but that's probably the best way. And there's an email, and there's a very quite outdated website too, but the contacts still stand. Yeah. But Facebook's probably the way to go, I think. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What's the Facebook? Is it just Community
Soccer Hub?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when does your drive for next season start? Because you started around November last year for the 2022 season.
It's supposed to be. It's happening now. I'm going to wait and see what happens after 6 o'clock tomorrow morning before I shift my attention.
That's when Australia plays, right?
Fair enough.
That's when I'll have a bit more energy to focus on getting cracking for next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always summer programs, summer sevens and stuff to keep people engaged. So
when do they start, and can people just rock up to participate, or do they need to let you know in advance?
Bit of both. We've got allocation for casual turn up and play, which is a big part of what the Community Soccer Hub does, which is just providing a place for people to just know that something's happening and turn up and play. And we've also got the kind of more structured environments too. But yeah, the juniors and stuff will be starting very soon actually. So it'll be on Facebook.
Awesome.
Have a peek.
And what's the relationship or the connection between your organisation and local councils in terms of getting adequate facilities to play and train? Has it always been okay?
Well, it started from somebody within the Brimbank City Council who noticed the need actually. And noticed that lots of different groups were coming to them saying we need grounds, and without the kind of formal organisation to go through the process and have all the, there's all sorts of ABNs and stuff that you need. It was actually someone in Brimbank City Council at the time who came up with the idea of bringing everybody together. So the relationship is great. It's like they treat us kind of as if we were another club within their council region. So the same facilities, change rooms, the grounds, maintenance, all that kind of stuff is really good. I feel extremely grateful because I don't know if you've seen Selwyn Park, but it's beautiful. It's magic. So we feel very grateful as well. And that helps as well, like, build the sense of belonging to the people who come there, that they're not just ditching them out in the outer suburbs somewhere.
Yeah.
And it actually feels like a club, and it actually feels like they've got the facilities to be taken seriously. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very grateful. I think we have a good relationship.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I think the community is very grateful as well, because I mean it's not like a full-time job for you, if I understand correctly, right? So it's and that's really very inspiring, and we need more people like you definitely to keep the soccer community growing in Australia, and hopefully we get a little boost now, or maybe a big boost through the Socceroos at this World Cup.
Yeah. I'm not worried about the boost to players. I want to see a boost to some funding. I want to see a bit of
fair
acknowledgement.
enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see Football Australia make the most of this opportunity to really lobby hard, because I feel like there's been many wasted years. So,
Yes, absolutely. But before we let you go, in a few hours' time, the Socceroos do play Argentina. What do you think?
I'm still in shock from Tunisia a week ago, and anything's possible.
Yeah.
Like I'm in shock, to be honest. I watched all of the qualifiers. I didn't think we would make it at all, let alone getting this far.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying. I mean, okay, I'm not necessarily enjoying the conceding, 80% possession, because that just makes me nervous. But I'm loving the energy and the fight, and I'm just loving it all. So I don't know, anything's possible, honestly. Like, who knows? I'm not going to predict anything, though. I'm happy we're this far.
Fair enough. Neither are we, because all our predictions have been really bad. So it's one of those World Cups. But thank you very much, Simon, for coming, and we wish you and everybody at Community Soccer Hub all the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
So we have to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we have Mexican footballer Luis Gonzalez. But first, our friend Brian Yap has some things to say. Go nuts, Yappers.
Hey tradies and DIYers, listen to this. Bowens have everything you need to fix up your bathroom, your bedroom, your kitchen, your whole house if you want to. Bowens are the builder's choice for a reason. If you want to get the job done properly, done professionally, and done on time and on a budget, you know where to go. That's right, follow that big yellow sign there and head to Bowens. Bowens have been servicing the community for 128 years, so they know what they're doing. Come visit the friendly staff and ask how Bowens can help you today. Bowens, the builder's choice.
All right. Mexico has hosted the World Cup twice and will do so again in 2026. Despite a rich and colourful footballing history, Mexico rarely hit the mark when it comes to the World Cup. To discuss Mexico's performance in Qatar 2022, we have with us Mexican footballer Luis Gonzalez. Luis, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
No, not a problem. Mexico, in this World Cup, the first time since 1978, they're out on the first round. Obviously, you're disappointed. What did you make of it?
Everyone in Mexico is disappointed about the result. As you mentioned, Mexico in the last 7 World Cups made it to the round of 16. This is the first time that we didn't. And actually only another team had the same record, that is Brazil.
Wow.
So not even Spain, not even Argentina, not even Germany, only Mexico and Brazil. The only issue with Mexico is that we always lose at the round of 16. I think Mexico has to change some things if we want to improve in the future. The first one probably is the structure in the Mexican league. We have too many non-Mexicans playing. Every team is allowed to have 8 players playing at the same time that are non-Mexicans. So the spots for Mexicans are very limited. That is a massive issue. And the other thing that I have to mention is that Gerardo Martino, the coach, didn't perform as we were expecting. They hired him to give that step that was missing in Mexico history. And at the end, he didn't deliver what we expected from him.
Do you think also that within the CONCACAF Federation, it's in the end when you have the continental competitions, it's like or almost expected it's USA versus Mexico, So if you look, for example, in South America, you have 3, 4, 5 teams that are more competitive. European Cup would be like a very competitive tournament. There's not much Mexico can do about it, but do you think that that lack of competition within the federation is also a bit of a challenge?
Yeah, it is, 100%. And probably our federation is the weakest, or one of the weakest. Always Asia has been there, maybe Africa in some cases. But we have been the worst in this World Cup. But it's challenging because the continent is huge. So if you want to organize a competition between both federations, it's very complicated. Travel distance is maybe 10 hours. And the other issue is Mexico used to play, for example, Copa Libertadores.
Yeah.
Back in, 10 years ago. But we were not treated fairly, in my opinion. All the money was only for CONMEBOL. The referees were always on their side. So Mexico, that's why decided to stay in CONCACAF. And I think the US and Canada are doing very good things, and they are going to improve and grow in the near future. And you can tell right now, the US have a massive team. Canada didn't perform as expected, but I think in 2026 they will be a very good team. So let's see what happens.
But why is that? Because the United States and especially Canada, they're not really traditional footballing countries, but Mexico does have a very good tradition when it comes to football. Yeah. So why is it that it seems like Mexico are regressing, but the United States and Canada are improving all the time? Yeah. Is it discipline? Is it ideology? Is it funding?
I think it's a combination of many things. Probably the US, they have the best athletes in the world, and that helps. Yeah. Nowadays, that football has become a very, athletic sport. That helps a lot. The other thing is, I think the Mexican league is like a bubble. So Mexican players get paid a lot of money. They don't want to go to Europe because they don't need to. Something different in the US. At the end, they have salary caps that they have to respect. And in Mexico, we don't have that. For example, in Mexico, they want to sell players in $15, $20 million that many European teams do not want to pay for that. And the MLS have tried to let all the good footballers to go to Europe as soon as possible. And nowadays, the starting 11 of the US, all of them are playing in top teams in Europe. Mexico, we only have maybe 4 or 5, and that's it.
I grew up with Hugo Sanchez, I know, a very big name. Looking back, you also had Rafa Marquez, who is one of the world record holders, but I think he played 5 World Cups for Mexico. So do you see on the horizon, it's maybe a bit too early, but any potential for someone that can go into these big footsteps, somebody where you would say, yeah, that might be a leader for our team in 2026?
Don't think so. And that is one of the things that concern Mexicans the most. I don't think we have a strong team for 2026. I think the US and Canada will perform better than us.
And even now that you say you still have 4 years to build, or maybe 3.5 years, given the fact it's a Winter World Cup, but so you would think that the time will not be enough, so until then?
I don't see the quality in our team.
Yeah.
For example, we have maybe some good prospects. One is Marcelo Flores. He was playing for Arsenal. Now he's on loan in Spain. He's 19 or 20 years old. Midfielder, very good player. Let's see what happens. The other case is Diego Lainez. So he was sold to Betis in Spain, 20 million euros. He was 17 back then, but nothing has happened with him. So we are waiting that these good players will perform and improve, but let's see what happens.
It's a shame Mexico didn't make it from the group stages, but there is some good news with Mexico. It's been 92 long years, but we had our first all-female referees hit the pitch, and amongst them is a Mexican girl,
Yes.
Karen Diaz. How does it make you feel as a Mexican? Are you proud to know that women are stepping up, and for the first time in 92 years, there was all-female referees on the pitch?
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, these women, he's probably one of the best referees in the Mexican league. So it's well deserved. It's not only because of, we're trying to give a message to the world. It's because she really deserved being there.
That's groundbreaking stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And you were mentioning some of the players earlier, and there have been very good Mexican players like Nery Castillo, for example, Chicharito, and all these sort of players that have sort of been like the next big thing in Mexican football. And they go to Europe, they do okay, but then they come back to Mexico so quickly. Why do you think that, like these really talented players that go to Europe, but they don't solidify themselves over there?
I mean, I think Chicharito is a special case because I think he performed better than expected. He's probably not the most talented player, but he scored goals. That is the most important thing for a striker. And I think he did a good career in Europe, playing for Manchester United, Real Madrid, and scoring many goals. So I think Chicharito is a different case. But for the rest, I agree with you. In many cases, they seem to be very good footballers, and at the end, they didn't deliver. I think it's probably the mentality, personality of the players. They are not strong mentally, and they prefer to go back. It is easier, comfort zone maybe, and that is one of the main issues.
I was told when Mexico loses at the World Cup, then the Mexican supporters go for Brazil. Is that the case also for this World Cup now, that you're going to kind of support Brazil, or?
No, USA.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably this comes from 1970 in the World Cup in Mexico that Brazil won. Since then, Mexico likes Brazilians. Not the case with Argentinians, for example.
Yeah.
There is a bit of, I don't know, we think they are a bit arrogant sometimes.
Although Argentina won in Mexico then
in 86,
right?
yeah. Hand of God.
Outstanding Maradona, but interesting, yeah.
So yeah, we prefer Brazilians.
Yeah, fair enough. But and just on yourself, Luis, I mean, you're also quite a good footballer yourself. You used to play for Northcote, now you're at another club, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I came to Australia, I played in Mexico at a professional level. I was in second division.
Wow.
But I stopped when I was 19. I couldn't make it to the first division, and that's why I decided to focus on my professional career. So I stopped playing football for 5 years until I came to Australia to study a master's, and I joined Melbourne Uni Soccer Club. I had a good year, everything was fine, and I signed for Northcote City 1 year later. That is NPL 2. But yeah, I'm getting older.
We all are.
Some injuries, and that's why I decided to drop a little bit. Hopefully I can have a full season this year.
Okay, and who did you play for in Mexico?
I was in many teams.
Okay.
But yeah, my career was mostly Club America.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes.
a huge club in Mexico.
And I was in the under-20s over there.
Wow.
That is the closest you can get to the first division in Mexico, the way the league is structured. So it's basically under 17s, under 20s, and then first division. So yeah, I was close, but
Yeah.
I couldn't make it.
That's amazing because I'm a big fan of Mexican football.
Oh, really?
I quite like it. I highly recommend go and watch Mexican football because it's so exciting. And one of my favorite clubs is Los Tecos.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was like, see that reaction? Yeah, okay. But they're in like the third or fourth division right now.
They
They're-
almost disappeared
yeah,
3 years ago.
yeah. They're playing. Well, they're playing like caca. That's what we like to. So they're playing badly. But no. But I love Los Tecos. May God paralyze me if I would ever change clubs. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, Luis. Good luck to you and good luck to Mexico in the next World Cup.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure.
Not a problem. We just have to take a quick break, but first here's some words of wisdom from our friend, Brian Yap.
You all know that Wincher makes quality footballs, like the Trueborn football. And the Max Elite. And the Envision Blue. And the Envision Gray. But did you know they also do basketballs? And volleyballs. And footies. I failed it. They have the best sporting goods at the best price. Buy in bulk and save money. When you think of quality, think of Wincher. Go to www.winchersports.com.au or visit info@wincher.com.au and win with Wincher.
Well, Australia are in the round of 16 against Argentina in a few hours' time. Argentina versus Australia at 6 a.m. Melbourne, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Exciting stuff. Definitely exciting, nerve-wracking, and it's never really thought that Australia could go this far. Germany are out, Uruguay are out, Belgium are out. It's really amazing. And here's Australia, one of the last men standing. It's amazing.
And here we are sitting now 2 weeks later, and I must say it was unexpected, and pay my utmost respect to the Australian team, how they performed against Tunisia and also against Denmark to turn it around in that way. After the first game, I admit that I was quite negative, or let's say pessimistic.
Yeah. Well, we were being honest though.
Yeah.
I mean, the game against France. I mean, let's not think everything was all hunky dory. The way they played against France was atrocious. Yeah. It was bad. And the criticism labelled at Graham Arnold and some of the tactics of the game was merited. It was merited.
What really impressed me the most was how they still were fighting against Denmark. Seeing the first 30 minutes was like they were, I would say, not present at all. And Denmark played a really good football. They were attacking, they were creating chances, but Australia stood there. It was. I remember there was Graham Arnold. You could hear him I think maybe after 20 minutes, he said, "Come on, guys," And I thought, maybe let's wake them up,
Yeah.
And how they really were standing against this, as we call it, Danish dynamite, and in the second half,
True.
I mean, we were talking about Matthew Leckie coming back from Europe, the A-League and the level and whatever, and then he scores this goal. So very, very impressive.
DeArne.
Oh, look, I'll be the first to admit I was a Debbie Downer about Australia last week. I really was. Given the standard Tunisia had shown against, their prior games, I didn't think we were coming away with a win. And quite honestly, yes, full credit to the boys. However, I thought they played their worst football, almost as bad as France against Tunisia. I think we're lucky.
Yeah.
I think the luck of the Aussies got the boys through on the day. Don't take anything from their hard work, their speed. Some of their courage in their tackles is just off the charts insane. As far as I'm concerned, we've got the best tackle of the World Cup so far in the Denmark game. However, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer anymore, but every time I've called something, it hasn't actually, we all have our opinions and we want things to go our way, but I think we're lucky to be here. I'm grateful that we're here.
Yeah.
And you're right, when you look at the standard of Germany, Uruguay, not getting through, Belgium, and I'm sitting here going, Australia? Okay. That doesn't mean I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. in a few hours and going, go!
And now you're playing another top team for this World Cup, right?
Yes.
And one of the best players in the world ever, I would say, in history. I'm not talking about who has ever been the best. I think these discussions are nonsense.
Yes.
But I think it will be, I'm really excited about that, how the Australian defense is going to play against Messi, Di Maria, and...
Oh, they're already on the bus back to their accommodation. They're just going to let the forwards try and win the game.
I think it's one of those, they're not even going to park the bus, they're just going to put the hazard lights on, put the cones around the bus,
That's right.
tell the bus driver to go home, those types of sort of things. But it is good to see that Australia doing so well on the world stage at the World Cup and doing so well, because I don't want to say we're pessimistic, it's just that we were being realistic, we were being honest, and we all thought, you know, from what we saw against France, it was an atrocious game. But the way they just attacked and went full blown, we have to win this game against Tunisia. They went after it and they won. And then they doubled that up with the performance against Denmark. I don't think anybody gave Australia a chance. And the fact that Australia defeated Denmark, who were 10th, I think, on the FIFA World Rankings. I'm not a big fan of the FIFA World Rankings, but
Definitely on
they're on a high. They're in the semi-finals in the last Euros.
Yes.
This is not a...
Seen as quite a bit of a dark horse for this whole World Cup, you know.
Yeah.
So huge disappointment on that end from Denmark for sure. And I think it's now a round of last 16. It's this anything can happen. But let's be honest, you know, if Australia can keep a 0-0, I have this maybe a little bit silly theory to say it might even be better to have a 0-0 for a longer time rather than score. Maybe
and then go to penalties and have Redmayne come in again?
Because I think because they scored against France that early, maybe that might have woken up France even more, you know, and then they said, look, guys, this is not working. We really need to put more effort into it.
Yeah.
Rather than if you can keep it 0-0 and maybe score in the 70th minute, the 1-0, and then let Argentina come. So, I don't know. But to be honest, Argentina's still the clear favorite. Let's be honest.
They are. And talking about waking teams up, a very interesting thing was happening during the Germany-Costa Rica game. They actually put up on the screens the live shift and change with all the goals as to who was going to make it out of the group stages. Yeah. And I was sitting there astounded going, are you serious, Qatar? Like, let the game play itself out. But it did put a fire under Germany's feet, I have to admit, because they were driving hard. And by the way, Spain thanked Germany. You're there because of them. From last week. So my concerns are obviously, apart from all the massive names in Argentina, they head in with no injuries, and we've lost Boyle to a knee injury, and not even clear when he'll be playing again in any league.
Yeah.
So what are we going to think now is going to win the World Cup?
Well, I mean, the experts at Channel 7 did say Australia were going to go all the way, and I don't know. But look, I still think, I don't know, I have a good feeling about England. I had it at the beginning, and I even had the same feeling in the Euros. I'm like, I actually really like this England team. I like how good they, like the young way and the attacking way that they play. They have some good players in good form, and I'm like, I don't want England to win, but I have a feeling that they could possibly do it. It could be an England versus Brazil final. Who knows what could happen there? But I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to go with the team that I said I wanted to see get past the group stages and through some of the finals. I'm going to put my money on Senegal still.
Senegal to win the World Cup?
I'm going to shock win.
Wow. Yes, that is a shock win. I mean, there was a shock that they won the African Cup of Nations. But to win the World Cup...
Look at how they're playing without Sadio Mane. I mean, come on.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with you that England was very... So they impressed me in that way, even when they had a bad game like against the US.
Yeah.
They had a draw, you know, not like other teams like Germany who lose when they have a bad game.
Yeah.
And they had, again, with all respect, it was only Iran and Wales, but they were very impressive in both of those games.
You still have to beat who's in front of you.
Yeah. And that's why I think Brazil was looking good, and Argentina might be back on track now. But from a European perspective, probably England the best looking, and otherwise Brazil.
Yeah.
I'd just like them to lose so I don't have to hear it's coming home again.
Oh, you're going to hear it anyway. Regardless, if they win or not, you're going to hear it.
Aww.
But the matches later today, the Netherlands versus the USA at 2 a.m, Argentina versus Australia at 6 a.m. This is all Australian Eastern Standard Time. On Monday, 2 a.m, France, Poland. Monday, 6 a.m, England and Senegal. Then we have Tuesday, 2 a.m, Japan, Croatia. Then 6 a.m, Brazil versus South Korea. Wednesday, 2 a.m, Morocco and Spain, and then to finish it all off, Portugal versus Switzerland. Any matches there that you sort of think, ooh, because this World Cup, anything can happen. I mean, really, so anything can happen.
Japan, Croatia is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and
after their
kudos
performance,
to Japan.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's probably the one where you would say on paper could be the closest, maybe similar to Portugal versus Switzerland. Otherwise, the other 6 games have a clear favorite in my opinion. So Brazil, Argentina, England, the Netherlands, again with all respect to all the other countries. But so those 2 games, Japan, Croatia and Portugal, Switzerland, I think are the most unpredictable, but what is predictable in these days anyway.
True.
And our friend from the Spanish group, Miguel, he did say the Morocco-Spain is a bit toey about that one. And Morocco they haven't been playing too badly. They've actually been playing all right. So
every team that is there deserves it. Let's be honest, that's the good thing. So I think there is not one single team where you would say, oh, they were just lucky, so they deserve it to be in the round of the last 16. And it's going to be an exciting 2 weeks. So let's see who will, in 2 weeks' time, then be there with the cup.
Yes, we'll see what happens. But also, it's also wonderful to see Asian football do so well. You've got Japan, you have Australia, South Korea, and Australia is the only team to make it to the round of 16 from 2 different confederations. So 2006, they were from Oceania, this time around Asia. But it's wonderful. I hope Australia do well. Fingers crossed. I mean, just making it this far has been good because we've been so bad in our predictions. I think Argentina 12-0.
Okay, I'll go.
But
Set the bar low and we'll win.
Yeah. We'll see.
Look, I think that at this point it's anyone's game. Yes, Argentina are the favourites. I don't know. Can we have some more luck? Anything can happen out on that pitch, but I'm still not convinced we're quite at the standard we need to be to progress from the 16.
Who knows? Like in this World Cup, who knows? But time will tell.
All my other predictions have been wrong, so...
Yeah, exactly right. But time will tell, and we wish the Socceroos and all the other teams all the very best of luck.
And it's great to see the crowd out there on Fed Square in Melbourne.
Absolutely.
So that's really something that reminds me a bit of public viewing in summer in Germany. You know, so it's nice now. It's summer here in Australia. Yeah. So tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Fed Square. I think it's going to be packed.
Yes, it is wonderful to see so many people watching the football, and it's great. But we have to leave it there. We want to thank our guest Simon Reynolds from Community Soccer Hub and our guest Mexican footballer Luis Gonzalez. Thank you very much, Bernd. Thank you very much, DeArne. And silly me, I keep forgetting, if you want to know more about 3ZZZ, if you want to be a broadcaster, sponsor, member, go to www.3ZZZ.com.au. Hope to see you same time, same place next week. Enjoy the football. Bye for now.